DIYers, hey, what's going on? Mike Boards with the Mike Boards channel. Thank you for watching. We are working on my dad's 1987 Gravely riding mower. It is the Professional 18G with the Magnum 18 Kohler engine. And in today's video, the proper and safe way on how to adjust your carburetor. Now, in the event that your engine is bogging down or sluggish at idle or misfiring at a high RPM, before you replace the carburetor, you may just need to adjust it. And we're going to show you that in this video. Let's get started. All right, DIYers, hey, we are back with you. It is now the next morning. We allowed the engine to cool overnight, and from here we will raise the rear cowling or cover that goes over the engine that the seat is secured to and take a closer look. Coming into a close-up view, and on top, secured with the two wing nuts, is our air filter casing. And coming down here, the grass screen, as well as the flywheel fan blade assembly. And we've got spark plug wires and boots, plugs. And we've got our voltage regulator or rectifier, and more, our muffler. And coming inside here is our carburetor. Right inside there, you can barely make it out. Pretty dirty. We will clean up as we work through the project. And we will start by removing the two wing nuts and pulling the entire air filter casing off. Camera now position, we are first going to remove both the wing nuts and again remove the cover or cap to the air filter housing and case. Be careful as you remove this. You have a rubber seal, and ensure it goes all the way around, it's not damaged, and it's properly seated. Now that we have removed the cover, we have access to the filter, and right down here, you can't see it. However, just on the inner side right here is a 3/8 bolt. We are going to remove that. And it's the same size as our 3/8 bolts that go all the way around our engine cowling and secure all these panels in place. And there is the bolt, as you see. Next, again, referencing our air filter, we have two little rubber grommets that secure onto the threaded studs, and as I pull this filter up and off the threaded studs, those little rubber grommets are going to fall in place inside that bowl, and that's where I want them to fall. As you see, right there. And these are now loose. See that? Set that aside. Next, we have this little rubber hose that has a beveled lip on it, and we need to carefully push this down inside so we can pull the entire bottom portion of the housing up and off the engine. In addition, this hose right here will come out of the cowling or panel. And I'm going to just be very careful, and this is going to come up and off. As you see, there's the hole that the rubber hose feeds into. Again, it has a beveled nipple right there. I'll give you a closer view here shortly. Here is our carburetor. You have a seal right here. Do not damage that, do not crimp it, and don't let it fall inside the engine. What I want to do first is scroll in, and I'm going to adjust the throttle lever up top as well as the choke so you can see what moves. I will first start with the choke. The choke is now out. I'm now going to push the choke all the way back in. And I will do this a second time. I'll pull the choke out, choke back in. Now to the throttle lever. The throttle is currently down to slow or turtle. I'm going to shift the throttle lever up to rabbit or fast. It is now in the full up and fast / rabbit configuration. I will now bring it back down to turtle. It is now down to slow or turtle, and I will do this a second time. Up to rabbit or fast, and now back down to turtle. Coming to a top close-up view, and again, there is the air intake, feeds into our carburetor. Down below you can see the bowl and fuel lines or hoses and the air intake. Inside there's the flywheel, and DIYers, down below in the comments and description will be several helpful video links on replacing the grass screen as well as the fan blade assembly, as well as links on where to purchase replacement parts. And again, 1987 Gravely Pro 18G. And we've got a few adjustment screws here. It has to be a perfect fuel-air mixture ratio to operate and run efficiently. What we'll do now is carefully clean it. DIYers, we're back with you. I spent a couple minutes and used some shop towel and brake cleaner as shown here, and down below in the comments and description will be a link on where to purchase each of those. And I sprayed the brake cleaner on the shop towel and ever so carefully wiped clean all of the parts, both the needles, the carburetor, and the linkages. And we are now going to move forward with the preliminary setting or adjustment, and we are going to carefully remove this seal or gasket. And we will be starting the engine here shortly. And once the engine starts and is running, I don't want this loose and falling off or interfering with the adjustment process. So again, from here, we have a cold engine and we are going to begin performing the preliminary adjustment steps. And coming in here, we are going to direct our attention to the top needle, and this is our main fuel needle. We'll now direct our attention to this needle on the side, and that is our idle fuel needle. And right inside here, you can see an additional screw that goes all the way through and pops out on this side. And DIYers, that is your idle screw. Again, main fuel needle, idle fuel needle, and main idle adjustment screw. However, moving forward, we are going to first start with the top main fuel needle. We are going to carefully turn it clockwise. It is under spring tension. And we are going to turn this clockwise until it gently bottoms out. DIYers, that's important. Do not over tighten this in the clockwise manner, because the bottom side or opposite side of this needle is specifically tapered off and machine cut. And if you damage that, you'll need a whole new needle, and that would not be good. So again, just gentle adjustments clockwise. And again, the spring is going to compress as you do this, and you will feel it bottom out. Take your time, go slow. And this is another reason why you begin the preliminary adjustments with a cold engine, so you don't burn yourself. And I do feel a little bit of tension. I'm going to stop there. The spring is compressed and it is gently bottomed out. We are now going to direct our attention to the fuel idle screw and do the same thing. We are going to turn it clockwise until it gently bottoms out. Go slow, be precise. Absolutely no reason to rush this. You can use a screwdriver, however, doing it by hand and fingers, you get a better feel of it bottoming out. And that one is bottomed out. Let me turn it back out counterclockwise and do it again. And that one is bottomed out. Next, our exact serial number service manual calls for the main fuel needle to be turned 2.5 turns, and that will be counterclockwise or out. So we'll start here. Half, 1, half, 2, 2.5. We will now direct our attention to the side needle, which again is our fuel idle, and this needs to be rotated 1 full rotation. Half, 1. At this point, we have properly adjusted our top main fuel needle as well as our fuel idle needle. We are not going to touch the idle screw. That will come at the very end of the project. And DIYers, that completes the preliminary steps of the process of adjusting your carburetor. And in order to continue to the next steps, we must start the engine and allow the engine to run for about 7 minutes and warm up. DIYers, that is important and imperative for the proper adjustment process of your carburetor. Don't just do this all with a cold engine, or even worse, don't do all of these steps, both preliminary and final, with a hot engine. So with that said, we'll continue and we will start the engine again, let it run for about 7 minutes, and we are going to keep the engine running. And I would say maybe 5 to 10 seconds after starting the engine, we are going to shift the throttle lever to the midsection, basically dead center in between slow turtle and high rabbit. And again, that is per our exact serial number service manual. And after about 7 minutes with the engine warmed up and carburetor warmed up, we will move forward with the adjustment of our top main fuel needle. And the way we are going to do this is carefully turn that needle counterclockwise until the engine bogs down. And once it does, we are going to take note of the orientation or position of that needle. And after that, we will slowly turn it clockwise until the engine increases in RPM. We will then take mental note of the position of the needle and compare it to the noted position or relation of how it was positioned when it began to bog down. And then we will rotate that needle to the dead center portion in between each of those positions. However, something very important to note is after 7 minutes of the engine running at mid-throttle, before adjusting this top main fuel needle, our service manual guides us to increase the throttle to full rabbit or high configuration. And DIYers, after we complete that step, we are going to bring the throttle all the way to idle, and we are going to do the exact same thing that we just did with the main fuel needle down here at the idle fuel needle. However, with the throttle at idle. So with that understanding and quick explanation of how we are going to adjust this, it is now time to start the engine and allow it to warm up. DIYers, there it is, the preliminary adjustment as well as the final adjustment for both the top main fuel as well as the side idle fuel. And I made a very small adjustment to the actual idle screw. I may adjust that one more time. However, from here, I want to start the engine back up and see how it idles with the throttle lever in the full low or turtle configuration. engine is now fully shut down, and we are going to wait about 20 minutes and allow the engine and carburetor area to cool off before putting everything back together. DIYers, hey, we are back with you from a 20-minute break, and the engine area is likely still warm or hot. Just be careful. We've grabbed our gasket here, properly placed that, and this little hole or cutout is going to go right on and seat there. Just be careful, position it properly, don't force anything. And this is going to go carefully in there. And then you've got this little hose down here that again has that beveled lip to it, and you are going to push it through so it can grab a hold and lock in place on the inner portion of this housing. Just be careful because the muffler's right here. Chances are it's still hot. And DIYers, I strongly encourage you from restraining from using screwdrivers or any tools that would damage this hose as you try to push it up through this little hole. You don't want this hose punctured. You'll have to buy a brand new one. That would not be good. And that is in. And I'm going to carefully shift this down. And you are going to align the screw hole and re-secure without over tightening that 3/8 bolt. As shown here. Again, just carefully align. Do not cross thread this. If you have to move this ever so carefully, you can do so. Followed by tightening it with the 3/8 socket and ratchet. Do not over tighten it, but you want it snug. Followed by resecuring the filter, and again we've got these two little rubber grommets. Align the holes with the threaded studs and allow it to fall in place, and one rubber grommet on each threaded stud, followed by grabbing the cover and securing it with the wing nut. However, properly seat this seal all the way around. If it's offset in any way, reset it so it's perfectly set and aligned. Coming in with the cover, align the threaded studs, and same thing with this. No need to over tighten these wing nuts. You'll end up bending or damaging the cover. One last thing, I'm coming right here and properly seating that hose into the panel down below. And DIYers, at this point, just double check everything. Make sure you're not leaving any tools behind or any parts loose or any hoses crimped. And if all looks good, lower the entire panel or cover that the seat is secured to and take it for a test drive. And DIYers, during that test drive, do yourself a favor and put the engine under load. And what I mean by that is put it in proper gear, followed by engaging and turning on the PTO, resulting in the entire blade system inside the deck to begin running. And again, that puts a load on the engine to really give us our final test. Did those minor adjustments to the carburetor solve any and all degraded engine performance, both at idle without the PTO running, as well as high speed with the PTO and blade system running inside the deck? DIYers, as you just saw, pulling the choke completely out shuts the engine off, and that is how it is supposed to operate. If you pull your choke all the way out with the engine running and it continues to run, not good. That is not how it is supposed to operate. It is for choking the engine or priming it during the start. DIYers, we are back with you, and the test drive went well. My dad gave us the thumbs up, as you just saw, and that is a successful DIY project. Again, the carburetor is readjusted and reset. Not brand new, but again, readjusted. And no more random moving of the linkages in there.